Isolated in intensive care, 65-year-old Dwight Lemaire recalls the moment everything went black.
I got up to go to the bathroom. I didn't make it. I got as far as the door, and then things started spinning and out of control.
He collapsed. His daughter called 911. With a history of heart trouble, Lemaire knew something wasn't right.
It was just a cough, and every time, I coughed, it affected my heart.
His cardiologist believes Lemaire had the flu, which caused his heart to fail. While doctors have long suspected it, a large new Canadian study published in the New England Journal of Medicine has found a significant association between lab-confirmed flu cases and heart attacks.
You're 6 times as likely to have a heart attack during the week after being diagnosed with influenza.
Generally, flu symptoms can cause inflammation in the body. All that swelling can irritate the walls of your arteries. If they're lined with plaque buildup, swelling can cause a plaque blockage, preventing blood from flowing to the brain or heart, causing a heart attack or stroke.
Some people have low risk of a heart attack and some people are higher risk for a heart attack, but anyone is basically at 6 times increased risks.
This is a big deal. I think that this really hammers home that it's time to do something.
Dr. Jacob Udell treated Lemaire. He says healthy people don't usually end up in hospital with the flu, but that a flu shot can go a long way toward protection.
If you can get something for protection, I would definitely advise it.
Lemaire says he got the shot. Even though it didn't keep him out of the hospital this time, he knows his heart needs all the help it can get.
The bottom line is it boosts my immune system, and I'm happy with that.
Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
In so many ways that we're still dealing with the flu is frustrating. 100 years ago, this month, was the Great Flu Pandemic, when between 50 and 100 million people died. That was 5% of the world's population then. Obviously, it hasn't been that bad since, but the flu still kills, which leads us to our question of the day. Why can't we find a fix for the flu? Predictions are a problem. Every year around this time, the World Health Organization decides what strains to put in next year's flu vaccine. Then, using a roughly 70-year-old method, vaccines are grown in chicken eggs, 5 months to make it, then test it, then distribute it. Sometimes by then, the virus has changed.
You could picture an influenza virus like a beach ball that's coated in lollipops.
Okay, it's an odd description maybe, but let's run with it.
Current vaccines work by generating an immune response against essentially this candy part of the lollipop, which is different and is constantly changing.
What about a universal vaccine? Following Matthew Miller's metaphor, that would mean targeting the stick, not the candy.
The scientific bodies all recognize the importance and the potential global public health benefits of investing strongly in these universal vaccine development projects. But the funding agencies in particular are still handcuffed by the budgets that governments allot to them.
Funding the U.S. has dedicated to a universal influenza vaccine annually is 8% of what's put into developing an HIV vaccine, for example. Why not more? It's not like flu has waned as a threat. In the first few weeks of 2018 alone, more than 2,000 Canadians have been hospitalized with diagnosed influenza. The costs build. The good news is there are actual universal vaccines in the clinical trial stage. The bad news, there is no guarantee they'll work. And if they do, it could still take a decade to get through.